In our last episode, I took the first step in getting Arya's remodel underway. And I found Dennis Foster, this crazy guy that you see here yelling at everybody.
Take the freaking wax out of your ears, Mark.
How much am I gonna take of it over here?
I'm a babysitter, a detective, and a lawyer.
I'm watching money just fly out the f***ing door.
This is bullshit.
Now he and his assistant, Juan Acosta, made the drive all the way down from Fort Lauderdale Marine Center to Key West to take a look at Arya and tell me what I needed to do. Now remember, I'm not some kind of trustafarian, and I have just a finite amount of money to get this done. And trying to explain that to Dennis was a foregone conclusion. So even though this guy does amazing work, he can't really have carte blanche with my credit card
You know, there's some carrots down at the other end.
and go dancing around Key West with my wallet. This is gonna get interesting. I can't explain it, but some people are just born for adventure. They hear the calling, and they're compelled to get off the couch and see what's around the corner or over that horizon. I'm going on this quest to prove that the heart of history's greatest explorers and adventurers is alive and well today. This is your invitation to
Escape from reality.
Your support is putting wind in our sails so that we can share these adventures with you. We got a bunch of stuff on Arya that we've noticed over the last year.
All right, let's get that list.
What are you checking out there, Juan?
Talking to see if it's coming out.
Oh, we got a bunch of that happening.
Yeah.
See that?
That's
Yeah.
all one screen, the film
Oh, yeah.
put over there. But the border should be painted in that caulking.
No, it was
Yeah.
talking over here.
This is hull number 23. Is that correct? There's your little half of a HIN number, which you call hull identification number. But there's no manufacturer number. It's just a number, so you don't really know who's bid by, even though it says Lagoon. It should say like LAG.
Beneteau Group, I think.
Yeah, the month in there and stuff like that. When we're done with all of our repairs, what we'll do is we'll get and do a gel coat restoration polish on it. It's a 3-step. That'll bring that to life and it'll actually shine.
Okay.
All right? And then it'll have some protective UV wax, ultraviolet wax. So when you hopefully put the hose on, it'll beat up for a little bit until you get salt on it.
Dennis Foster, pimp my boat. All right, come aboard, guys.
Let's go.
And they just walked from bow to stern and told me everything that was wrong with it, everything that had to be repaired or addressed for not only safety concerns, but also to preserve my investment and then aesthetic.
All right, let me get the list. Let's go by the list. And then anything else we'll see, we'll add to it.
This is the major blemish right here. This happened from the collision.
That's FRP, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to disconnect that, get that thing off, and then grind it out. Look, it's split all the way to here.
This used to be a cover for the seats.
Yes, it was a
Snap.
fastener.
Yeah.
So whatever you think that we can do to make that cosmetically a little cooler.
Yeah, you stagger out the laminates and tie it in and stagger it one after another, and then it won't happen again.
And just glue
Unless
over.
you crash it or somebody hits it again.
And glue over fiberglass.
And then you can see the work here from. Do you see how all these voids are in here that are starting to collapse?
You see where you got
Oh, yeah.
chips on the gel coat?
Yep.
That could be easily repaired because we could fill that in, re-gel coat it, buff it out. But when it's non-skin, this is almost impossible to match.
Now look down. It looks like somebody hit it with a ball peen hammer. Yeah. Those are all voids that have collapsed, and that was a warranty issue from the warranty repair station, and this is their handiwork.
Yeah, there's another one right there. Right there.
There's
See
several.
it?
They're everywhere.
You got all the yellowing here from the previous repairs. Look at the outline of that perimeter. Yep.
Well, you can see the tape marks.
Yeah.
Somebody taped that in.
All right, this is gonna be a nightmare.
Great.
If this was just in, let's say, a sanded pattern, no problem. We sand and spray to sand. This you have to order sheets, and it's a nightmare because you got to do the whole. This is what happens when they try to do spot repairs. You can always get the match, but you can always see the perimeter unless you do the whole pattern. What we'll do is we'll do a sample for you. We'll spray a section on a PVC board and see how you like it, let you walk on it. And we'll do it in a probably, I would say, a heavy grit, a coarse grit. And that way you don't have to slip on your, even this stuff, that's pretty damn slippery, even though it's molded non-skid. Obviously this is nicer because it's a texture and it's an actual pattern. But to repair all of this, we'll put this through the roof as far as costs and labor. What we do is we disc sand this down with 36 grit. We smooth it all out. All those ball peen and cracks, we repair the air voids with some epoxy and some laminations. Then we'll spot prime all of that and then prime the whole, because this is gel coat. So we'll put epoxy primer over all these patterns, sand that, and then spray a non-skid finish like you'll see on the mega yachts with the sand and the color match paint. Then when we're done with that, we'll do the 3 or 4 step and polish out everything so it looks a nice high shine with a UV protected, so it's against the ultraviolet rays, and you actually got gloss on the boat instead of faded gel coat. What is that we're looking at?
Where the cap was glued to the top of the hose.
You mean whole deck?
The deck was glued to the hull.
So they got caulking here?
Yep.
Is it yellow?
What?
Huh?
What?
Huh?
What?
I forget.
It's not that it's yellow. It's
Dried and cracked.
tried and cracked.
Yeah, you gotta pull that out there and do it. Me and Juan, you will never see us doing this, taking a little siesta or a break, because it's such a pressure cooker. Everybody and their mother's calling us to get on a boat or do this or do that. So if you ever see us doing this, we must be really up, because that means we got nothing to do.
Why don't you just check yourself into the old fool's home while they still have a bed left?
See the caulking's just coming off. Look at it. Flat surface and gel coat's easy. You spray the gel coat to match, and then you wet sand and buff it. You can't notice the difference. This one section, Dennis, almost looks like somebody made it and then glued it on.
Yeah, because the
It's
hardest
starting to
part
come
is
on
these.
you.
Yeah.
It's coming off.
Yeah, right there.
It's not factory.
There's only about a handful of fiberglass guys that can do this molded non-skid, us being one of them. And it's a nightmare. Nobody likes to do it, and it's very expensive, tedious, and time-consuming. That's why they don't. That's why everybody wears away from it. Costs versus application. See, now the window goes back. Either way doesn't work.
Let's wait till we get in the ship door.
Yeah.
And I could easily tell right off the bat that Dennis is the visionary, but Juan is kind of like Renfield to Dracula.
Master, we're here.
This wood is inserted here, and you can see this is not solid wood from the corner. That's a veneer on top, and you can look at the plywood base underneath. Just if you come from this side, you can see it. And it's engineered. That's not real wood. What happens is when that window opens, it heats and the sun shines, and that's why you got raw wood right here. You can see it's just the edge, so this should be revarnished. Oh, look, you got a crack here. So this is going to be water leaks. Look, come here, let me show you. Leave me on the boat, I'll find it all within minutes. That's open. So the water's going to go in there and run out this Formica countertop. So this needs to be dug out and filled in with some flexible caulking. What I mean by flexible, it's not too hard, so as soon as you hit a wave, it cracks. What I mean by flexible, it expands and contracts. So when you're on waves, it moves with the surface and doesn't break the caulk line.
Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
So you can tell you got water damage here, and you got it back here as well.
I guarantee it's that corner.
That's the windows. Yep. See that stain? That's water that traveled down. And you can see all that salt buildup back there.
See the other one coming down? The panel's warped. That shouldn't have been a center button, it should have been 2 buttons here. Center button's good if you got one like this, but even the same thing's happening, see? 2 would have been ideal. Everything has a travel path, so your leak might be over here, but you don't really see it over there because it travels down there and comes out at the entry point of wherever there's a break, a leak, or a seam, or a gap. So every water has a travel path. And a lot of that times it might be affecting certain different panels. It might not even be this panel. This just might be one of the, what I call subjects of it. So it'll come over here, the water will get here, but it's really traveling all the way down here to get out. If it has no exit point on the travel path for water, it'll load up and belly up until it just pushes the panel down and comes out. Because water is buoyant, you know, it just goes out like that. So that everything has a travel path. You just got to trace it down and find the leak, stop the leak, and then stop where it's traveling, and then fix all those panels.
What's the solution for these panels?
Well, the solution is probably you might have to either replace them, or you might just put more buttons in them to make them look flush to match the overhead ceiling. Because right now they're all just hanging down, and some of them are bowed. They're going to be too bowed. You're going to have to make new ones, new material, put them back. But a lot of these you can fix with just buttons, which could have easily been done from factory. What we do is we're going to take all of these panels down, which are the overhead. We're going to go on the top of the roof with a water hose, and we're going to flood this, and what we're going to do is a water test, and it should show us where the leak is and find the travel path of where it's coming out. A more efficient solution to deal with a rudder, especially the leak that has damaged the core, instead of making a new one, if this is your rudder, right, you just cut the outside skin off, pull all the core out, put it back in with core, and reglass the outside, and you've repaired and got rid of all the water damaged core without having to make a new one. The exterior Lumar hatch is what a lot of people like is in clear, because it gives them, you know, direct sunlight and you get sun in. But some people prefer them that to be a 30% gray or a brown, like a Bomar or Lumar hatch, so it doesn't let the sun in. They can just open it up and get some air into it. So a lot of the problems with them is not that you need to replace the hatch, is that you need to remove it and rebed it, recaulk it, and seal it back down, and then water test it, and then move on to your next one. And you don't have to replace all these hatches, which can be anywhere from $800 to $1,200 a piece. You just have to recaulk them, water test them, and then most of the time change the sunscreen sets underneath.
And the problem you might be having with the caulking is you got to use UV caulking.
Yes.
If it's not UV, it will always eventually just either fade away or rot. Even 5200, if it's not UV rated, it's not going to last for sun. So if you zoom in, you're going to see all these little crackles. That doesn't mean the glass is broken. The glass is solid. That's just, since it's plexiglass, instead of being actual glass, it expands and contracts, and it causes that crazy look. It looks like it's cracked, but it's not cracked. This is still a solid glass. It's just a matter of the way it looks. And sometimes you can repair it by just putting tint over it. If you put nice dark tint, you won't notice the gracing. It's a matter of choice.
Look how high it is. All that is another water trap, because they have like a little receiver flange and a lip that goes down and sits in that drainway. But that gap should be level with the deck so it doesn't look like such poor construction.
You fix this and then you make sure that they lift it up right the next time so they won't do that again. So what I would do is I would remove the step completely, go inside, and you cut a piece of redboard. You use some structural adhesive, glue the redboard up to the bottom of the step. You drill your holes and you through bolt it. It'll never come again, it'll never move, never flex, it'll be solid. Now the framework that holds this cover is also moving, and it's dangerous. I mean, if anybody wants to step on there, you could fall through.
So you take this and you get the exterior version of the furniture fabric, and it works well out there in the cockpit. It's not, the vinyl doesn't get all hot with the sun. You can actually sit on it. So it works really well. A lot of larger yachts and smaller yachts use this for exterior and interior applications. You can see how dislodged that one is right off the bat. That's warped, and that's usually due to those hinges as well. There's little push buttons. So these lock them in. We use them on the interior. So there's little chrome push buttons. One, push it in, it locks it in. Push it out instead of sticking your finger in there and trying to figure out how to open these. And they're really tight because they're saltwater corroded hinges. Look right there. Yep. And look, this thing should open and close, but if you see it, look at that, see it? The whole thing's moving. There's no through bolt, it's just screwed into the fiberglass. So after you open that 10 or 15 times, it'll pull out. They just stuck this in here and glued it, and they didn't glass it together, so it's cracking if you look all the way down that wall where my finger is. Yep. It's all cracking right there, so that needs to be filled in with something and then glassed over and seamed together so it's not just sitting there going like this and vibrant, because eventually it's just going to crack and break. Another place for water to get. And this door is warped. Look at this. See how it sticks out? Watch this. See, that's only used for storage. You can actually take those and put cabinets right here. Same thing with here. Put cabinets right there. All this shit can go in the cabinets, and this whole thing can open up and just fold up. Because, you know, most likely if you have other guests, let's say he's got a bunch of people in there, you could fit 2 more long bodies right here, and even a little cubby, like a seat, like a little radius curved seat right there. So you can put 2 more bodies and another seat. Or, what you have here, this is a closet, right? So if you don't have that, you take this here and you could extend that closet. You got more closet room. Yeah, that's wide open. See
Well,
it?
and you don't want to see wires anyway.
Yeah, that's wide open now. See it? Look at that. It's not even covered. That's a perfect way to get a water drip or the waste overflows onto exposed wiring. Even though they got butt connectors and there's ink shrink, heat shrink on them, which you're supposed to have it. That one's still open. And you can see it's got electrical tape around it, so you know that's not factory. You can see where the line is for the white. That's supposed to end right there. Yeah, and it should be glued down. So that's why the door might be a jig. Just by itself, it's a fire hazard. Should be, I know, it should be a GFI. So when it gets overloaded with current, it shuts off.
Somebody screwed down the panel.
It's really not in bad condition, but a lot of the things that are here could have been prevented, obviously pre-construction when they were building the boat. It's basically going to get what I call, a nice lipstick cover. We're going to clean everything up, put some lipstick on it, dress it up really nice, but there's nothing major structural. There's no like really bad problems with the boat. It's just we're going to clean it up, make it attractive, make it sexy, and make it somebody wants to charter and get on the boat and have a good time and maybe take the family out for the weekend.
How long do you think this is going to take to get Aria up to scratch?
I'm looking at, from what I'm seeing now, based that we don't find anything major when we start getting into it. You know how it is when you get into it, something else pops up that you didn't count in. But I'm looking at somewhere between 6 and 8 weeks, weather depending. And I mean, I need every bit of that days. We're probably going to push 6-day weeks and give the guys off on Sunday if I feel like it.
And a bah humbug to you.
In getting to know Dennis for a little while, I've learned that his inability to say no, or I can't, or I won't, or I shouldn't, or anything even remotely like that is his kryptonite. He can't say he can't do something. He's open for any kind of challenge. I brought my boat to Foster's Yacht Services in Fort Lauderdale, and that was a real fun adventure for me because I single-handed the boat by myself, solo sailing from Key West, Florida, up Hawks Channel, all the way to Fort Lauderdale. That's Miami on the horizon there. That is not sunrise. And just coming up on it at about 5:30 a.m. And we have to go past Miami to Fort Lauderdale, Port Everglades Inlet, and then we have to deal with all the bridges. As soon as I met the general manager of Foster's, he steers me right into a sandbar. Finally, we get to Lauderdale Marine Center, which is arguably the greatest maritime facility for super yachts in the world. They hauled the boat out of the water and just began breaking it down.
As the old saying goes, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. But unfortunately for Juan, that first step was a rough one. How will the team handle the scope of work for Aria as the weeks ahead unfold? Anyone who's been in or around the maritime industry knows just how deeply superstitious it can be. Is this embarrassing arrival of Aria a foreboding foreshadowing of doom for what's ahead? Or was this just an embarrassing misstep for the veteran service manager? Keep watching to see what lies in store as the ARIA project takes shape. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next.
Escape from reality.